Okay. Moving on to, do we have a presenter for the Meadowbrook day camp?
Yes, I'll go ahead and introduce who's here. My name's John Porter. Sangeeta Takor is with me. Sangeeta is the co-chair of the Summer Programs Committee at Meadowbrook. She and I work together in running the Summer Programs Committee. We are also members of the Board of Trustees for Meadowbrook. And then Jordan Bentley is a teacher at Meadowbrook, and she's also the director of our overall summer programs. And then Dan Hanlon runs the Meadowbrook Day Camp. He's run the day camp for 15 years for Meadowbrook. So the four of us are here to address any questions you have. Could you
maybe come up front? And,
certainly.
We've given this about about 15-20 minutes for presentation and discussion. Perhaps what one of you could do, just for the benefit of the camera and anyone else in the room who's interested, just tell us what you're proposing for the day camp. I would say that this is a renewal. We give Meadowbrook, we review the Meadowbrook day camp proposal every 5 years and give you and have given you authorization to conduct the camp the last time 5 years ago. So you're back after 5 years for another presentation. Before we start, I'd just like to introduce ourselves. I'm Al Adelot. I'm the chairman of the board. And the other board members are?
David Mendelson.
Sue Zacharias.
Steve Oppenheimer.
Roy Jelmash.
Right, and if you could just maybe keep your presentation to about 10 minutes or so, then that would give the board a chance to ask questions afterwards, and we could open it up for comments from the public.
Jordan, do you want to give an overview?
Sure. Of summer programs.
Primary author of our.
Yeah. So as you stated, we are looking for a renewal of the 5-year plan. And there's not much different from the last time we were before you in 2009. We'd like to continue last year at this time you granted the use of the fields. We'd like to continue that. So that's different from 2009.
The fields.
The fields. We came before you in May of 2013.
Yep.
Thank you. And you granted the use for the summer.
Soccer fields off Cedar?
Yes.
Is that what you're talking about?
Yes.
And other than that, that's from 2009 to 2014, no change. In our programming, let's see, we have committed to keeping the bus ridership below or above the minimum rate of 60% of bus or carpool. That's in there. We have 3 under the Meadowbrook summer programs. It's the Meadowbrook Day Camp and something called Maze Makers and something called Teen Adventures. And collectively, we have the maximum daily attendance, average daily attendance of 400. So that's for that. Anything you want to say there?
That's unchanged. The daily attendance is unchanged. The number of staff is unchanged. The overnight, occurrence is unchanged.
Traffic projections unchanged?
Yep.
Yes. Yep.
And we're still maintaining at least 60%, right?
Right. And it's a combination of bus and car.
Police detail unchanged?
Yep.
Well, we do have one minor proposed change for the police detail. The day camp, which is the largest of the 3 entities there, we've gone to 2-week sessions now. Prior to last year, our permit, we had 2 sessions, and we would have a police detail at the beginning of each session. So we'd have a police detail, for the first couple of days, and then 4 weeks later. We're proposing that we have a police detail now, just amend it so that we can have it for the beginning of the first 2 weeks. The next 2 weeks, right? So 4 times.
So you're increasing your total number of hours, basically, the police details
Well, no, actually,
Are you
it would be
doubling
about the same. It would be about the same, because it was just, the police detail would be there for 4 days,
4
except
days.
we would just stand it out at the beginning of each one of our sessions, when we would have new people.
So I'm
come in.
confused. So how many, so you've gone from, the day camp,
Two 4-week
4 weeks
sessions
to
to
now
four
Four.
2 weeks.
2 week sessions.
Okay. And that won't increase? You won't need more of a police
No,
detail to
because our
sort of
police
train
detail in
parents
the,
up to how to?
in the previous permit, we had the police detail there for, where we asked for it for the first 3 days
Uh-huh.
of each one of those sessions. So that would have been a total of 6 days.
Right,
So
so-
we're asking if we could have it on the first day of each one of our new sessions.
Do you think 1 day is enough
I do.
to train up the parents, slap them around?
I do. There's a regularity to it, and there's not much choice with regard to where people can go. And I find that people understand it and get it pretty well. They always have.
And we have, 60+% of the attendees of a camp in a given year are repeats from the prior year, so they're experienced consumers, if you will, used to the travel.
Our bus ridership is around 85%. So throughout the years, we've had a pretty decent decrease in cars coming in and out of the camp.
Will you be able to monitor it somewhat after the police detail is gone, just for a few days to see how it goes?
Sure, I mean, we have staff that are positioned out there anyway throughout the entire summer, every day, not just the first
So as
session.
long as they're alert to know,
Right.
to get back to you that, hey, we have a problem and we need the police detail back.
Mhm.
You know.
Of course.
I have less faith in hurried parents than you guys do, and that there might be more bending of the rules than you think, and unless they really know it's serious, like, you can't just do what you want to do. Right? But, so you really think 1 day is enough? I mean,
I do. We have staff members that are positioned throughout positions out on Summer Street, along Farm Road.
does anybody
throughout
listen to
campus.
the staff members?
They do, and if no one listens to them, then they tell me and they listen to me.
Yeah. So what's our recourse as a training board when the neighbors call us up and say, not working,
Well,
then what do we do?
if that were the case, then hopefully someone would call me and I would take it. We would put somebody on. So,
And think about that a little bit.
So your letter says to request a police detail for the Monday of each of the day camp's 4 sessions. I think you mean for the first Monday.
for the first Monday.
So that implies every Monday, your letter.
First Monday of each session.
Of each 2 weeks.
Of each 2
Right,
weeks.
So he's just saying this.
Yeah, thank you for that.
Okay.
Thank you.
There was, I don't have it in front of me, but there was a condition that I didn't remember. We're going back 5 years, so my memory goes back
What's
maybe
wrong with
3
your brain
days.
now? Shake it
I
up.
didn't remember discussing, and that was the condition about no, how was it phrased? Artificial sound generation after 4 o'clock. What is that? What does that mean?
It means no.
Amplified.
Yeah, bullhorns.
No
and
bull- okay.
No.
Stereos.
Music.
No.
Nothing.
After, but when is the camp over?
The camp ends, so the camp officially ends at 3:45, but then we have after camp. And so there's after camp. There are campers on campus up until 6 o'clock. And so at that time, there's no outdoor amplification used. That's what we're saying, during that after camp period.
Okay, and what would you need the amplification for during the camp period? How do
I've
you
never-
use it?
We haven't ever done that. We have just some days that we have over days till we go to 7, but we don't use music or any sort of amplification.
Yeah, I was
Yeah.
just, I didn't remember that one. So would you have a problem if we just deleted that condition, or?
Nope.
No? Okay, all right. Any other questions from anybody? Did everybody have a chance to read it?
I have a letter that I got
yesterday. Nan Fleming. Elizabeth, please share this email with the planning board. I'm unable to attend the 7:50 p.m. planning board hearing regarding Meadowbrook School. My husband and I are neighbors. We're houseway for Meadowbrook School property line. During the school year and each of the past 2 years, we have heard and therefore discovered a fairly large group of students on our property and our woods behind our house. Our property on Meadowbrook Road goes all the way to the Johnny Hoops tennis court on Autumn Lane. Just recently, 2 boys got to our very small back lawn close to our house while others roamed the woods. Each time it happened, I spoke rather strictly, asking if they knew they were on private property. They must have been playing some sort of game. They did retreat to the school property. If this happens during the school year, when we are in residence, I'm worried that it may happen during the summer when we live in New Hampshire and our house is not occupied. The woods are a wonderful place for children, but we strongly feel we don't want the liability of having children from Meadowbrook summer camp coming to our woods. The camp counselor, not familiar with the property lines, may think it would be fun for kids to play in the woods. We're grateful if you could mention this during the hearing so that the camp director and the school are aware that this sometimes happens. Thank you very much. Nan and Sam Fleming, 61 Meadowbrook Road, Weston.
Well, I'm sure that that's something that you would want to take care of, but it sounds like it might be almost a silly requirement, but maybe we should add a condition that all activities will take place on the Meadowbrook property.
Well, can I just say something about that? I don't know about that particular situation, but we do have a nature program where we go on hikes, and we don't go actually in that direction behind our vending gym and over by Donahue's, but we actually do go on a nature trail that goes down Cedar and then goes up and backs up into the golf course. There's a little bit of a nature trail, so that's the only,
So
that's the
Meadowbrook
actual
property
typical use.
or publicly accessible
Yeah.
walking trails.
Yeah.
Does that seem like a reasonable
I think so.
condition?
We just have to be careful, because the teen tripping is largely off
Well,
property.
teen tripping is completely off the block. Yeah.
Oh.
Teen adventures.
Teen adventures.
But
Or
do they
they-
take place on the neighbor's properties?
They
No.
do
No,
not.
no, no,
Some
no.
take place somewhere else.
That's
Oh,
I mean, you don't go
neighboring
across the
property. How about
Okay.
neighboring?
Okay.
Neighboring properties.
I see you.
Perfect.
I'll get to you in a second.
No, it's relevant to this, it just
All right.
happened. I heard from another neighbor that they were concerned for the same thing. A ball or something involved in a game goes over to their property, and they have concerns also about liability. So if it could be just supervision when somebody's retrieving something that runs over to the other yard. But serious, pay attention, don't just let the kid run out there and whatever. Interact with
Can I have
kids
your name
and
for
so
the
on.
record?
Sorry?
Can I have your
Oh, I'm
name?
sorry, Susan Kannenberg, Kannenberg.
Yeah, it's something you'd want to do anyway, so if people are just bringing it to your attention. It's worthwhile. So we're talking about neighboring properties or publicly accessible walking trails in Weston. Okay. Anybody else? No? Did you have any other comments, Susan?
Okay. I appreciate the effort you guys are making, and there hasn't been a lot of complaints, or any complaints as far as I know. I did want to address the matter of sound amplification. I did look up the other camps, the 2 other camps in town, and their certificate, or their special permit rather, says sound amplification is prohibited outdoors, period.
We just made that.
And, no, I understand, but what you said was, could we
No.
just delete it? And
I see. You
deleting
would've put
doesn't
that
mean-
no sound
Yes,
amplification
put it in
on.
the same condition that the other camps had. That was the only reason I mentioned it. I didn't think,
Okay.
wasn't that you weren't doing a great job.
Thank you.
The other thing, which is, again, kind of a little point, there are abutters who were not notified. I only know that because I got the abutters list. For some reason, maybe just an oversight, no intentional problem, but the list of abutters was requested for 10 Farm Road. If you guys are using the field down Cedar, the large new fields, then I would think it would be fair that the entire Meadowbrook property be, when you get the abutters list, that everybody who's in a butter of all the property you use be included. So for example, the people that are immediate abutters to those fields who are not on the abutters list for this hearing should be included. So when you make this application, if you don't mind, it's not just 10 Farm Road. It's 10 Farm Road and whatever the, I don't know if there's another address. Maybe 10 Farm Road is the address of record, and so the Board of Assessors automatically generates whatever's physically contiguous to 10 Farm Road, which doesn't include what's across the street. Which is it a different address? Are the fields a different address, or really they're encompassed by the 10 Farm Road, aren't they?
Well, we consider them part of the 10 Farm Road
Right,
campus,
right.
if you will, but yeah, and obviously there was
Right,
another
but-
street address that
Yes,
they had.
that doesn't matter. But
pre
the thing is, when you
the
ask
first.
the assessors, which is part of the permit process, they follow strictly 10 Farm Road, and they pick only the properties that physically abut the physical 10 Farm Road, which means not across Farm Road.
Right.
So that means all those guys that abut the fields are not included, and I can think of several right off the top of my head who are not included, who might have been. Now, clearly they can be sit there and watch their computer every day and watch Weston Media and all that stuff, but they ought to be included, don't you think?
Yeah, for sure. I can think of 3. Are
So
you sure
thank
they
you very
weren't?
much.
Are you sure they weren't notified, Susan?
Yes, because I have the list
Oh,
of
you do?
abutters.
Okay. Yeah, that's an oversight.
I mean, the list of abutters was prepared correctly by the assessors,
Mm.
but, again, it's one of those things that like it fell through the
Yeah.
hoop. I don't think that Meadowbrook intentionally said, let's pull this fast one and ask for only 10 Farm Road. Just kind of, that's the address of record that you sent the letter, and so
Yeah.
that's what happened.
No,
I'm
it's-
sure that happens
do
at
this-
Chambers School too, that it's only
Yes,
historic.
exactly.
Like
The
that it's not
assessors
on
do the same
contiguous
thing.
Properties on Lexington Street. or
Automatically,
anything.
they say, oh,
Yeah.
here comes this request from 10 Farm Road, and they pick
Right.
abutting properties
The
to 10
effect is
Farm
much
Road,
greater.
end of story.
Right.
Yeah.
No thinking.
Yeah, good
So,
point.
Yeah.
thanks for the inclusion of
We,
the
need a motion
amplification.
this time?
The matter of the amplification, there was an issue many years ago, where someone had a truck diesel engine that they were using to amplify. It was pretty unpleasant. So this ruling or this condition is not just a gratuitous, shut up the old lady kind of thing. It's, definitely conditions of life around there.
Yeah. If I remember correctly, the last time we talked, there were also problems with grass mowing. Has that been pretty much resolved? The times of day when people were mowing grass and all, no complaints anymore about that?
No.
Okay.
But the season is just beginning, so.
Can I have your name, please, for the record?
Susan Harris.
All right. I think, weren't you the person, am I remembering correctly?
Trash collection and mowing, and, yeah, it can
Is it
be-
still an issue? I mean,
Well,
this is
and-
5 years ago, so what's happened in the last 5 years?
What I'm saying is although it is the end of May, the camp conditions haven't asserted themselves, so I can't tell you that lawn mowing isn't happening early. I would just love to, now that it's being renewed, we should re-agree upon a reasonable time before which not to make noise in the morning.
Right, I think that was in your application.
It was.
Correct.
It was the same wording as from
Okay.
5 years
And
ago.
what time was that?
It was 7 a.m.
Okay, I think that's early.
Well, has it bothered you over the last 5 years? That's the question. They haven't been back to us for 5 years, so what's been your experience for the last 5
So
years?
my experience is I get up before 7 and I'm often to work earlier than the lawn mowing time. When I'm not, it's unfortunate for me to have to encounter that noise. So the reality, I don't think they should rise or fall on my work schedule.
Mhm. Yeah.
Yeah, I think reasonable minds would say 7 o'clock in the morning. When I'm on my lawn at 7 o'clock in the morning, my neighbor complains to me.
Yeah. If I remember correctly, there was an issue about, the issue was giving them time to mow the grass and then the start time of the camp.
Yeah.
So.
But
the-
you could make the argument to mow the lawn at the end of the day and tell the kids not to, you know, not to be there. It shouldn't, I shouldn't
No,
have to pay the
I
price.
understand. I'm
Yeah,
just
yeah.
trying to remember 5 years ago.
That's right. I would like to press less on that point and actually more on the increased traffic on Autumn Road going to Meadowbrook.
Oh, you've noticed that this,
Yes,
really?
yes. And this is not camp traffic. It's school traffic. And so in the traffic planning, that either should go out in the literature or there should be someone at the intersection to discourage that.
So you're talking about the regular school year, we're not.
Correct, but
This is not camp, but.
No, but I've noticed in the, what has been discussed so far about camp traffic has not taken Autumn Road into account. And I'm saying it's become a problem for school and therefore I.
And you anticipate. it will be.
Correct.
But was it a problem in the previous years, in the last 5 years?
Yes, it has been a problem.
So you feel that in the last 5 years, there has been an increase in the summertime?
This last year in particular,
In particular.
and I have almost at the time, there was like 3 cars, you know, right in a row fast or early one morning, and there's not 3 cars on Autumn Road going anywhere except to Meadowbrook.
But I just
Yeah.
want to be clear that we're talking about, and you've noticed an increase in traffic in association with the camp or in association with the school?
I have noticed recently, so in the past year, with the school, and I want to say, because of the increase in traffic for the school, that it needs to be back on the radar also for the camp. That's all.
Did last summer, did you notice?
No, it has really
For the camp?
increased.
We're just talking
No,
about the camp now. Last
no,
summer.
I can't give you
didn't notice.
information on that. I'm just saying this past year.
Yeah, you're
Yeah.
talking about the school year.
Correct,
Okay.
but I
I know,
am
you're
offering to be
projecting forward and
proactive,
saying you
correct.
think, but.
But
Correct.
germane to what's before us
Yeah.
now has to do precisely with the camp. It's good to know that there are other issues that should be brought to bear when we're dealing with the school or we're dealing with the traffic committee or whatever. But in terms of what we're dealing with now, it has to do with the function of the camp over the last 5 summers that they've been functioning, and we haven't gotten complaints, I don't think, from anybody, have we?
No.
So-
They're saying that their school population, their camp population is not going to increase from what it has been.
Right.
So there's, I mean,
Yeah.
following up on I think you were saying if the school traffic is increasing, we can expect that the camp traffic would likewise increase. But they're saying that the camp population is staying constant, and so the traffic
So-
impact would be the same.
So there's 2 ways of looking at that. One is the numbers, and the numbers look very good. 2 is a change in the culture of traffic patterns, which can change even with the same number.
Yeah.
And I believe you were also a little worried about that when the police supervision went from
Right.
from 3 days down to 1. So the numbers look good, but I think
You
it's.
think that the
it's-
training needs to stay in place
Correct.
for a
I
little
mean,
bit longer?
If
More than the one day.
if you
That would be my
see
gut
any,
response.
if you see any difference from last year or 2 years ago, this year, just let us know, and we'll follow up with the school and see if we can make some adjustments.
And let Meadowbrook know as well.
Yeah,
correct?
for sure.
There's no reason
Please.
there shouldn't be communication.
You know, my inclination would be just have 2 days for every other week. That would be mine. I mean, guys, it's just me. Just because people's learning curves they're just, one day it's going to be like, yeah, well, the cop's not
Well,
there.
obviously making your parents aware of the sensitivity of it, and also the efficiency of carpools, the efficiency of buses, yeah, all that kind of stuff.
There's just one more sheet of paper. I have to read. These poor people.
We don't include the entrance on Autumn Road as part of our traffic flow that we tell the parents.
But they all have GPS. And they all know the best ways through and the easiest way to get there. Honestly, it's just me, but, it's a board of 5 people, but I would say I really would like to, at least, you went from 3 days, every 4 weeks or whatever it was, to keep it at least 2 days. And see if that works, and if it doesn't, we're gonna, it's a mess, and there people are just ripping through.
It could also be different parents on the first and second day.
Yeah.
All right. It's getting back to the grass thing.
She just said that wasn't an issue.
Really?
Yeah, she said it was not that big a deal.
Okay.
I want to say two things. It is, most mornings I'm out of there, but I don't think 7 o'clock in the morning is reasonable or pleasant. If I did that to my neighbor, in fact, I've made noise later in the morning than that and got nailed at. So,
Yeah.
What are our bylaws to
It's 7 o'clock.
It's
Yeah,
7
it's
o'clock.
7, that
It's
is, that's
townwide.
townwide. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I'm not sure we can do something different.
Yeah.
well,
Yeah.
But if they're idling those lawnmowers outside your window at 6:45,
great.
plain. They have to keep them quiet.
And the garbage trucks.
That's right.
Yeah. I guess I would start, my feeling about
Police.
the police would be start with one day, try to do a couple of sessions one day. When we hear complaints, then increase it to 2 days. Rather than starting with 2 days. But that's just.
Is that harder to handle? I mean, it seems to me like it's just simpler to just say,
2 days. That's what
I
you
just
guys
don't think it's that big a deal.
After starting with one day,
It comes down to you.
Uh-oh.
I think I'm actually in agreement. I think that 2 days is probably good.
I'm just thinking about Dunkin' Donuts.
Yeah, well, this is a little bit.
This is a little different, but
You're
not
not
much.
serving coffee to children, are
I don't think it's that big a deal, actually.
No, just donuts.
It's just not that big a deal.
Just
So
donuts.
you're adding, what, 4 police details, correct? That's all you're doing. Yeah, so I don't think that that's.
Good. Anybody else? Comments? Then,
Will we
motion-
draft something for the board?
yeah, let's, we'll draft a decision authorizing you to go for the next 5 years with the conditions that we've talked about, and we will schedule it for June the 4th. You don't have to come. It's strictly pro forma. You can come if you'd like, but you don't have to come back to present anything to us.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Susan said nice things about you. She doesn't usually
Thank you.
about anybody, so this is a huge compliment.
Thank you.
Thank you.
It would probably be.
Because they charge so much.
I'm sure I will. But the fact,
I mean, I
she
just-
said nice things.
Well,
Yeah.
well,
I don't know what they-
Just because you don't think it's reasonable about it.
Thank you so much.
If there are times to times for the application, because it looked like you just asked for a renewal.
No, we put it on this. No, we put it.
all right.
Yeah, okay. Well, it's not in this website.
We're right on schedule. I don't believe
It's Betsy and the magic. Come on, Betsy. 56 West.
we're